Context, genesis, and rhizomatic diversification from a blank wall. Here, I try to explain the background and evolution of this project driven by artivism and cultural diplomacy, starting with a blank wall intervened through an international public art competition, and how it gradually took a life of its own, diversifying into multiple artistic manifestations, including this very digital multimedia catalog you have in your hands, which, as stated in the directions for use at the very onset, can be several other things at the same time as well. And it all begins with with a blank wall in the heart of the European quarter of Brussels. From the moment I first set foot in the chancellery of the Embassy of Spain to the Kingdom of Belgium in the summer of 2017, I immediately felt the sizable inquiring presence of the then blank wall, over 6 meters high and nearly 25 meters long, which separates that state-owned property from the adjacent modern office and apartment block that was still under construction at the time. Over time, as I grew aware of the unique historical value of the former mansion and its grounds, what initially had been a purely instinctive feeling was gradually transformed into a firm intention shared by each of the two ambassadors who've led this diplomatic representation during this period, Cecilia Yuste and Beatriz La Rocha, and which was to promote some kind of artistic intervention that would breathe life and energy into the courtyard and the two buildings that make up the Chancellery, reclaiming its historical value and hopefully making it more accessible to the public. The architectural heritage catalogue of the city of Brussels describes the building that houses the Chancellery, situated in Rue de la Science 19, as a neoclassical private mansion, hôtel particulier. The property originally belonged to Count Philippe de Broekhoven de Bergeyck, who lived between 1877 and 1929, and was acquired on behalf of Spain on 23 May 1929 by Francisco José Gutiérrez de Agüera y Bayo, the then ambassador of Spain in Brussels. It was purchased thanks to a donation from Manuel Pareña y Salvatella, a Catalan cork manufacturer established in Belgium, and it would serve as the location for the House of Spain in Belgium. The official inauguration of the building was attended by several members of the Spanish. Previously, between 1919 and 1929, the Spanish legation in Brussels had shared space with the official residence, situated nearby in Rue Montoyer, 26, purchased a decade earlier by Rodrigo de Saavedra y Vinent, Marquis of Villalobos, Spain's first ambassador to Belgium following the legation's conversion into an embassy in January 1921. The rise in status was the consequence of an historical period in which bilateral relations reached one of their high points in terms of friendship, cooperation, and mutual understanding. This was due largely to the highly commendable diplomatic and humanitarian work carried out by the Marquis of Villalobos, popularly known at the time as Le Protecteur des Belges, the protector of the Belgians, under the German occupation of Belgium throughout First World War, during which the ambassador looked after the lives and interests of the Belgian people, mediating and interceding before the German authorities in an attempt to alleviate the suffering they were forced to undergo during those years of great hardship. Both properties, the diplomatic chancellery and the official residence of the embassy, are located in the heart of what is now known as the European Quarter, whose current urban layout is deeply marked by two historical events. First, the establishment in 1837 of the Society for the Expansion and Beautification of the City of Brussels, with the aim of attracting members of the aristocracy and the upper middle classes to this new and exclusive residential neighborhood near the Royal Palace called Quartier Léopold, in homage to King Leopold I of Belgium, and which constituted the main urban extension of the medieval center of Brussels. And so, well into the 1950s, mansions or maisons de maître remained the norm in this area of the city until the establishment of the European institutions, which is actually the second major historical event I was referring to earlier. Since then, however, this area of Brussels has undergone a radical transformation, with the construction of large buildings and boulevards to accommodate institutions and the entire network of companies, organizations, and services that accompany this great center of power. The development of this concrete and glass jungle has not been without its urban planning tensions between, on the one hand, the constant expansive drive generated by the European institutions, and on the other, increasing mobility constraints, pollution, problems, and the shortage of affordable housing and green areas, as often denounced by local activist groups. Therefore, the original mansions have become genuine architectural bubbles, you could say, that contain a large part of the history and heritage of the citizens of Brussels, and thus of Europe, including, of course, those of us who visit, live here, or feel that this welcoming city is ours, that we're at home here in the capital of all Europeans. Such a history and such a singular heritage certainly deserve to be reclaimed, to have their value and significance highlighted, giving the general public access to a small part of the national heritage in this capital city, in the form of a 120 square meter large blank wall at the embassy.